Hi. Hi, everyone. Hello. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Um, Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. My name is Celia Garcia, and I am the product executive for Primary. And I'm here with Luis Philip, the product manager for Primary, and we are going to be presenting All About Us Now to you. Thank you very much for being here. Luis is going to be helping me moderate the chat. And yeah, we're very excited to be with you this afternoon to show you this new course. The aim of the session is to give an overview of All About Us Now, and we are going to be looking at the following aspects. We are first going to look at the key values. Then we will look at how it covers the LMLOE requirements, the new requirements from the educational reforms. After, we will look at the components for both teachers and students. And lastly, we will look at the unit walkthrough. Thank you again for being with us today, and we hope you enjoy the session. So what's in All About Us Now? All About Us Now is the second edition of one of our primary bestsellers, All About Us, and its methodology is based on real life situations and daily social interactions to develop interpersonal and collaborative skills. All About It Now focuses on the life of a British child in each level and their environment. It invites pupils to learn about the lives of these children, the culture, their daily lives, and the language they use. These are the main characters of our courses. In level 1, we've got Alex. In level 2, we've got Sarah. Level 3 is Tom. Level 4 is Lily. Level 5 is Jack. And level 6 is Daisy. This real life situation approach of All About Us Now brings children closer to English. It doesn't only represent situations that they can relate to, but it also helps them understand why they are learning the language that they are learning, no? Because they live these situations themselves. In addition, All About Us Now includes a lot of multimedia material that's real life, that unit introductions or 180 panoramic scenes, some videos with karaoke versions, culture videos in documentary styles, speaking dialogues, animated stories, material that students will look at and will relate to and will want to learn more about. It also includes associated activities to these materials so that they can fully exploit these resources. Before we go on, I wanted to ask you, what do you prioritize when you're teaching English? Is it grammar and vocabulary? Is it skills or collaboration, creativity, critical thinking? Or it could be cross-curricular content and cultural content, or any other option that you can think of. If you can write it in the chat.
We'll just wait a moment or two. Thank you, Carmen.
Oh,
Skills.
great.
Okay.
Yes, skills. Perfect. Yeah, skills are very important. I think together with vocabulary and grammar, they're usually something that teachers will want material to work with. Grammar and vocabulary as well. Yeah, very
Thank you,
important.
Nora.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Nora, for your addition. Yeah, exactly. So grammar and skills is usually, thank you very much. It's usually what we're looking for with this. And when we created All About Us Now, when we published All About Us first edition, we conducted a research to know how it was working, how if teachers were happy with it, if not, and many of them asked that they needed this emphasis on support for grammar and for skills within within the books, and also they wanted more emphasis on the social interaction and collaboration. Again, grammar support, more real life material. And that's really what makes this course unique, is that we listened to the feedback and we included it in our course book. So All About Us Now is all about working together, all about real life, all about engaging every child, and all about supporting busy teachers like yourselves. Let's look at each key value more specifically. So, all about working together, it means that when we conducted this study, we found out that teachers wanted students to learn by doing and learn together. Collaboration was a big topic within teachers, and they want to teach students to learn from each other. So that's what we've included. We included projects and collaborative activities and learning situations where students actually put into practice the language that they learn. It also features content that's being developed in collaborations with the UNHCR, the Agency for Refugees of the UN, in levels 3 to 6, as well as collaborative activities and access to the community in GoPangea. Again, to include collaboration in the daily lives of students. All about real life. Units are centered, as we mentioned before, around British children and their lives. And it equips students with the language and skills they need for the real world because they see real situations. It's also aligned to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. You will see this symbol, this little colorful symbol, throughout the lessons, which means that there's content that's been aligned to these objectives, making sure that students grow to be responsible citizens. There are also new sections called Children of the World, where children will look at inspirational children from around the world. Again, real life content that makes them think of things that are real in their life and close to their reality. Then All About Us Now is all about engaging every child. Besides it having a competence-based methodology, it now features 2 new lessons focused on language support, and it includes new resources such as the Active Learning Kit with gamified practice, new animations, and language practice, among other. So a lot of material that will cater and make sure that students with different needs and abilities will have material that is adapted to them. There is also multi-level resources adapted to different levels within the class, and an essential version of the activity book. This is new for this edition, and it essentially follows the same line of the activity book, but with simplified activities, so that students who need more support have the opportunity to progress at the same pace as their partners, but with materials that are adapted to their level, right? So lessons in the essential activity book are first focused on consolidating the language, so the vocabulary, the grammar, the structures, etc., and then it'll focus more on productive skills. Lastly, All About Us Now is all about supporting busy teachers, because we understand that students are the priority, and we've made sure that it includes ready to use, that are resources that are engaging, that are comprehensive, like, for example, the iPack, the classroom presentation tool, with access to the digital books, different resources, essential classroom resources. And we also make sure that we include the materials that attend to the new law requirements. For example, continuous assessment. We've made sure that we've included enough material to cover this continuous assessment. We will look at them more specifically later on. And now let's look at the way that All About Us Now complies with the requirements of the new law. There we go. The new reform places an emphasis on specific and key competences. We discussed it previously. All About Us Now has a competence-based methodology, and its aim is to ensure that students learn by doing. These activities in the book develop critical thinking, autonomy, and collaboration so that students understand this practical use of what they're learning and they take responsibility for it as well. The key competences are indicated with icons throughout the classbook pages. There are little icons with the color of the level, and these are accompanied by notes on the teacher's guide to just work a little bit more on them and understand how they are being applied. There are also suggestions and explanations included in the teacher's guide if you need any further support, as well as competence-based rubrics and specific competence tests. Now, this is another question for you, because I feel like this is very real here in Spain. Do you have mixed ability in your classroom? And if you do, how do you usually deal with mixed ability, with the different levels within your classroom? Just answer in the chat when you can. No, you don't have mixed ability within your classrooms? Oh, here we go. Most classrooms have some mixed ability. Yeah, it's true. Most classrooms have some mixed ability, yeah. Do you usually work with what you already have and create something yourselves, or do you look for something else online? Ooh, adapting activities to the level, using specific materials for them, great. Reinforcement activities and extra activities. And do you take them from the books that you're usually using, or do you create them yourselves? Great. Yeah, worksheets, videos. Yeah, exactly. I feel like there are many ways of learning, right, Marilu? So in the end, it really does depend on the very student. But yeah, I can see that you use extra materials. Okay. Yes. So you all have mixed ability. That's great. So yeah, we understand that mixed ability is a reality within the classroom. So we've made sure that All About Us now is all about inclusivity and all about making sure that every student can reach their goals. One of the main things is that we, first of all, have made the book competence-based. Then we have included suggestions in the teacher's guide explaining how lessons can be adapted so that you don't have to do the work yourself. You can just find it within our book. There are collaborative tasks in every unit and most lessons to have students of different levels work together, as well as tests and worksheets at various levels of difficulty, again, to make sure that you have something for every level within your classroom. You also have a test generator where you can personalize tests as much as possible. If you think a test that we've given you is already too difficult or too easy, you can pick and choose the activities that you want, put them in a test, and create it for your students, both digitally or print. That's your decision. There are also resources in a variety of formats to encourage different ways of learning, right? So we've got videos, we've got presentations, we've got animations. There are panoramic images with hotspots in the first cycle. There are games. Again, making sure that different types of intelligence get something that's tailored to them. We also have the Active Learning Kit with gamified resources to encourage autonomy from the student. And lastly, GoPangea, which is an online platform, online global community where students will be able to collaborate, to communicate with other students from around the world. But we will get to know this platform a little bit more later on in the presentation. Another very important aspect of the LOMLOE is mediation. As you know, or you may know, mediation has always been around in English language teaching, but it has now been explicitly included in the curriculum. Essentially, mediation required students to reinterpret information and be able to convey it in an appropriate way. All About Us now includes 2 specific mediation activities per unit. They're indicated with a little banner that says mediation, and they're accompanied by notes on the teacher's guide explaining how they work and how mediation works overall. There are also other communication activities within the lessons that are not mediation specific, but that will for sure help students develop the different areas of communication that they need in order to mediate. Another very important aspect of the LOMLOE is a digital competence, which I think, especially since the pandemic, we've realized that digital resources have been more and more present in our daily lives. And I think it is key that students are familiar with them and know how to use them in their daily lives, right? To prepare them, we have included the blended solution for All About Us Now, which implies that students will have access to the digital version of their print books so that they know how to use them and are familiarized with the way that working with digital material is. They will also have access to the Active Learning Kit, this digital tool for autonomous learning and support. And lastly, access to this online global community, GoPangea. Continuous assessment has also gained a lot of importance in this new reform, and it is very present in All About Us Now through review sections every 2 units. We've also got review tests for every 2 units to make sure that the language is consolidated and that to know exactly where students are at each point. There are notes and suggestions for continuous assessment within the teacher's guide in case you want to further work on it. And there are self-assessment resources for the students, because continuous assessment is also for students to realize their progress and what they need in their learning. So there are self-assessment resources and progress activities at the end of the unit, after they have made a project, after they read the story. So again, it's just making sure that students interact with their own learning and understand why they are learning what they're learning and how they should learn. Lastly, they've got the iProgress check in the Active Learning Kit and the Learning Record, which are sections that will help them understand where they are in their learning process. I'm just going to quickly check the comments, see that everything's fine. Great.
Yep, all good.
Thank you, Louise. And lastly, the LOMLOE requires students to gain more knowledge about sustainable development, about global citizenship, and it wants to make sure that students become responsible citizenships. How do we represent this in All About Us? How do we tackle this? First, we've included lessons aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. You will see a little symbol that's with colors like a rainbow, which indicates that activity is aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals, which could be open for further discussion within the classroom. There are notes on the teacher's guide to further work on that. There's also a focus on international culture, both through the culture lessons focused on British students and their lives and English-speaking countries. And there are also new lessons called Children of the World, which focus on inspirational children from around the world, real life content for students, for them to relate to, for them to be inspired by, just making sure that it's engaging and interesting for them. In levels 3 to 6, we've made lessons that have been designed in collaboration with UNHCR. We've mentioned before with the Agency for Refugees of the UN. And these lessons are they're great. I really, really like them. I think they are very interesting, and they place students in positions that they're not usually exposed to, and in a very safe and understanding way. Lastly, we've got the GoPangea online platform, which is this online community where they will be able to interact with students from around the world. But we will see that once we're looking at the components. Lastly, for the LOMLOE, we've got the learning situations, very important. These learning situations require students to solve a real life problem, something that would happen in their lives. And in order to solve it, they have to collaborate. And these learning situations have different stages. They first have to investigate and learn what they know. Then they have to collaborate, create the content that they need, distribute the roles that each student will be taking, creating whatever is going to be presented, then presenting it, and lastly, evaluating it. All these stages are presented in the learning situation of the Children of the World spreads, and they all come accompanied by notes in the teacher's guide. To make sure that you don't have to prepare anything else, you can just work with what's here and the notes ready to go. So now that we know what the key values of All About Us Now are and how it covers and complies with the neuroeducational reform, let's look at the components. So for levels 1 and 2, we've got the blended solution. This means that students who are using the printed class book will have access to the interactive digital book with access to the active learning kit. And same for the activity book. Students who are using the print activity book will have access to the fully interactive digital book, or if they're using the essential activity book, they will have access to the interactive digital book. For teachers who prefer a communicative approach without a class book, we have the option of My English folder, this on the right. It offers a set of active learning resources for a flexible approach. It follows the lesson structure of All About Us Now, but has fewer literacy lessons and mostly a communicative focus. The context of All About Us Now, the projects, the songs, the stories, they are all part of My English folder. And there is a resource bank style iPack. So the classroom presentation tool is resource bank style, in addition to all the print classroom resources that you would usually have, like flashcards or posters, etc. For levels 3 to 6, the printed class book gives access to the digital book, and the activity book gives access to the interactive digital book, the active learning kit, and access to GoPangea. So again, making sure that students, the software is 100% blended, making sure that students can access their books wherever they are. They can check the videos, the songs, the karaoke, etc., make their activities interactive, just to make sure that they have options and flexibility regardless of the situation of the classroom. Okay, what do we have for teachers? As always, All About Us Now includes a teacher's guide with notes for the units, with explanations of different aspects of its methodology and the LOMLOE. In case you want to familiarize yourself more with the new reform, there are sections within the teacher's guide explaining them. And you will also have a teacher's resource pack, which will include posters, flashcards, word cards, etc. Also audios on the Oxford Premium website, as well as resources, which that would be the tests at different levels, worksheets, videos, audios, answer keys. And lastly, you will have the iPack, which is the classroom presentation tool that gives access to the digital classbook teacher's edition with the test generator, and then the digital activity book or essential activity book teacher's edition as well. As a teacher, you've told me that you usually work with extra material for mixability and mixability within your classroom. How do you access these resources? If you need extra resources, do you look somewhere for extra resources? Do you create them yourselves? And if you look for these resources, what type of resources do you usually look for? please write in the chat. Okay, digital activities, worksheets, YouTube videos. Okay, so you usually look them up on the internet or create them yourselves. Yeah, that's very usual. I think many teachers look for these materials online. I know about 100 different pages, but I think sometimes, are you always happy with them? When you look for them online, do you have to adapt them? Worksheets, videos online, games, songs. Great. Okay, see, yeah, so very, very common as well. Most teachers, as we've received from feedback, that most teachers look for either digital activities or support, grammar, language support overall for the students. Because of that, and because we understand that you need more, we have created for our offer the Active Learning Kit. The Active Learning Kit is a digital online practice resource that places students at the center of their learning and allows them to take responsibility for their education. This means that whenever students are feeling like they need support in an area, they have a tool that they can go to and find a resource that's going to help them support them in that area, right? So I'm going to play a video which explains how the Active Learning Kit works. Please let me know in the chat if you can see it properly.
Yeah, we can see it, Celia, and I can hear the audio. Thank you.
Perfect. Great, so that's the Active Learning Kit. As you can see, many options for students to explore. And then we've got Gopangea. This is the platform we've been mentioning throughout the presentation. It is basically an online platform where students create true global connections. They collaborate with an online community with over 500,000 students from over 150 countries. The idea is that there are questions that are posted and students answer to these questions and share ideas, interacting with other students from the world. Students develop digital competence, global citizenship awareness, and communication skills throughout. I'm also going to play a video just to show you how it works. And just to remind you, students have access to Gopangea only in levels 3 to 6 through a code in the activity book or the essential activity book. So let me just share the video.
Celia, we can't hear you. Your mic's off.
Thank you, Louise. Yeah, so what I was saying is that when we've presented GoPangea to many teachers now this year, many of them really liked it and thought it would be useful, for example, for those classes where students aren't really paying attention, but you want them to collaborate to do something in class. These are very good. You can also create your own questions here, so it's really flexible for you if you want to combine this with any other project that you might already have in your school, or if there's any specific area that you want to work on. It's really cool because you can create your own questions, assign it to your students, have them work on it collaboratively or individually. So it's really flexible, and I think it will I think many teachers will appreciate it for those extra lessons that they need, or for extra work at home, or to raise awareness among children. Now that we've covered all of this, let's do a unit walkthrough of All About Us now, so that we know how it works. I'm going to share this. Perfect. So this here. Can you see my screen?
It's loading just now.
Okay.
I've just popped the links for GoPangea and the Active Learning Kit in the chat if you want to copy those into your browsers, and then you can look at more information later.
Thank you very much, Louise. And great, Carmen, thank you for letting me know that you can see my screen. So before we start, I just wanted to let you know that All About Us now has a starter unit and then 6 main units with 9 lessons per unit. Today we're going to be looking at Level 3, Unit 5, which is about school play. I just want to let you know that for the sake of time, I will mainly be looking at the class book. I'll go back to the activity book when there's something that's relevant. But for the sake of time, I'm only going to be focusing on the class book mainly. Starting with lesson 1, focusing on vocabulary. The aim of this lesson is to introduce the first set of vocabulary. first through a panoramic image, as you can see in here. So, it takes both pages, presenting the main vocabulary. And the lesson starts with a video of the protagonist of the level introducing the topic, which I'm going to show you really quickly right now. Please let me know
Unit 5.
if you can see it.
Yes, we can see it and hear
My
it. Thank you.
school play. Hi everyone. Today is a school play. Here is my costume. Do you do a school play?
Hurry up, Tom. It's time to go. Don't forget your costume.
Great. So as you can see, the topic is introduced by the protagonist children, and then children practice this vocabulary through listening and speaking activities. They also participate in the chant with actions to consolidate and develop the oral skills. And lastly, they finish the lesson with a game to engage children, to personalize the language, to make sure that they've consolidated all of this content. At the bottom of the page, you can see the STAR activity, which is for fast finishers, in case you've got students who have finished early or for further work. And we've also got a section reviewing the language from previous units or a core language that is being used in the lesson for them just to have some more support. In the activity book, there are activities that consolidate this vocabulary. Consolidate the vocabulary. Lesson 2 is focused on the song and communication. In this lesson, children observe, they sing, perform actions to a song that practices the new vocabulary and introduces, it doesn't work on it, but it just introduces the first grammar structure of the unit. Children are encouraged to talk about the song, to talk about the topic and the target vocabulary, and they do speaking activity to check the vocabulary. In the activity book, they also work on their skills, and they do a song evaluation activity at the end of the lesson. Lesson 3 is completely new, and it is focused on extending and practicing the grammar that's been introduced in the song. The grammar point is presented both through the table at the top of the page, as you can see, and it is accompanied by a grammar presentation. Unfortunately, I don't think you're going to be able to hear the audio of this grammar presentation because the platform does not allow to. But if you check we'll paste the link for the digital samples so you can check and listen to it and see it, so get the full experience. But I just wanted to quickly show you the video. So it's a little story contextualized in the grammar point. In this case, this bear is not wearing glasses, and therefore he's having accidents. And then the other two animals are talking about whether he has got glasses or not. So yeah, this is just to give students a look into the content, into how the structure can be contextualized and how it works in real life. The children, after looking at this presentation and looking at the grammar table, children listen to sentences with the target grammar structure, and they respond by either marking, numbering, or circling the pictures on the page. And in the iPad, you will see with these little icons throughout the pages, there are games to consolidate this language in a fun way, engaging students, making sure that they are all understanding what they're learning. And as we mentioned before, All About Us now includes two mediation activities per unit. This is the label that I was talking about, the mediation label. And these activities are aimed at students to reinterpret information again. Lastly, they close the lesson by singing and consolidating the grammar structure in the song with the karaoke version of the song. Let me just play you the video really quick so that you can see how it works, because it's really nice. It includes a melody so that students can follow the melody of a song, as well as highlighted words in the subtitles for them to know exactly what word they need to be singing. So I'll play it for you. Yeah, I'm not going to play the full video, but yeah, just so that you can see how the karaoke versions are. Many teachers requested this from the first edition. They really liked the songs and they wanted a karaoke version so that they could work even more with them. Okay, so that's it for lesson 3. Lesson 4 focuses on culture and communication. It introduces an aspect of British culture using the language of the unit, and it does so through a video, a documentary style video that gives children more information about this cultural aspect. Then children will learn more about this cultural aspect through the text on the page and comprehension activities. And then they will do a speaking activity to fully consolidate the language that they've learned and the content. Again, with the focus on the key competences, and this time about intercultural awareness, the students are invited to compare their own culture with the culture that they're learning about through little questions. As you can see at the bottom of the page here, it says, when do you wear a fancy dress in your country? So yeah, again, inviting students to compare their cultures, to understand difference, to be more curious about the world around them, and become full responsible citizens. In the activity book, children develop the reading and writing skills using the target language. So it's activities that consolidate this. Lesson 5 presents a short story, which introduces the second set of vocabulary, as you can see here at the top, and introduces the grammar that will be looked at in the following lesson. Students do, well, first of all, the story is accompanied by its own animation in case you want to play it, or you can just have the audio play and have students read while they're listening to the audio. The story is accompanied by comprehension questions and a question focused on values. The stories usually convey a value, and there's an activity, as you can see on the right, all about values, that's focusing on the value in inviting students to use critical thinking and to understand the value a bit more. These values are aligned again with the Sustainable Development Goals, and they're accompanied again by notes on the teacher's guide. In the activity book for this, students do more comprehension activities and vocabulary activities to consolidate the vocabulary that they've seen in this lesson. Lesson 6 builds on the language that's been presented in the story, both the vocabulary and the grammar that was introduced. First, starting with a comprehension activity, as you can see in activity 1, and then focusing on the grammar. Again, grammar is accompanied by a grammar animation, to contextualize the structure, with a very clear table where they can go back when they're studying and understand the structure. Many activities, as you can see, there are these little icons that we talked about before, indicate the key competence that's being practiced within this activity. And in the teacher's guide, in the notes, you will see references to it with explanations, etc. The lesson closes with a collaborative speaking activity for controlled and personalized practice. There are mini cards for communications reference within the pages. In the activity book, again, includes activities, especially to provide practice for writing, the new vocabulary and the grammar. Lesson 7 focuses on integrated skills and communication, and also to practice of pronunciation. There are collaborative activities included to allow a freer use of the language, and in this case, the activity encourages children to develop the personal, social, and learning to learn competence by working together, as you can see here right before the activity, the blue icon. And the lesson ends with these pronunciation sections, which is usually presented either by a poem or a rhyme, where students get to listen, repeat, and practice the target sound. Lesson 7 practices skills, and in the activity book, I will show you lesson 7 for the activity book, which is where the writing is presented. Let's wait for it to be seen. Yeah, I think you can see it now. It focuses on writing, and it first presents a model, as you can see, for students to read and to focus on. And then students are invited to write their own. They're always given a tip, as you can see in Tom's tip on the right corner, explaining. Sometimes it gives children tips on how to order their sentences. It gives tips on maybe tricky words that they don't know how to use, connectors, etc. Just making sure that students have the tools that they need to produce their writing properly. And the lesson finishes with a pronunciation activity, again targeting the target sound, making them listen, check, and repeating the sound. I'm just going to, okay. Okay, lesson 8 is new in this edition, and it focuses on reviewing the vocabulary and grammar from the unit, as well as practicing listening, reading, and writing. It recycles the language in a variety of ways, which I think allows children to fully consolidate the language, and to make sure that children with different needs get different materials that are adapted to them. There is a review game in the iPad, again, making sure that the students are engaged and that they want to practice within class. And the lesson finishes with a reading activity that's aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals. In the activity book, students also have activities supporting the language and making sure it is fully consolidated. To close the lesson, to close the unit, lesson 9 is focused on a project, and it builds on all the prior knowledge that students have acquired throughout the unit, and that's been presented in class. It starts with a video of the protagonist children of the level presenting their version of the project, explaining what it is about. And then students will investigate and work on the project on their own, with very clear stages, as you can see, so easy for them to follow. What's good about this lesson, in lesson 9 in the activity book, they've got one page focused on supporting them on the creation of the project, right? So making sure that they understand the language that they need to use, sorry. And also inviting them to brainstorm and know exactly what they're going to be working on. Then it includes another page focused on self-assessment, a full page focused on self-assessment. First, they think of what they can do with can-do statements and reviewing the main objectives of the unit. Then they rate their effort during the unit. And lastly, they think about what they need to improve or their targets for the following lesson, which I think is really important for students to realize why they're learning, where they are in their learning, what they need as learners, making them more participant in their own learning process. And that's it for the unit. Now let's look at the in the sections between units. First, we've got the All About Our World sections. These sections, every 2 units, they're aimed at extending students' vocabulary in a cross-curricular context, inviting them to develop the 4 skills, and lastly, create a collaborative project. First, children review the language that they already know that's related to the topic. Then they will work on acquiring more language regarding these topics and explore this cross-curricular content. As you can see in the image, there's text that they need to go through and understand and work with it through the activities. Then there is a collaborative project on the right side where they will need to explore these topics and collaborate to create a production. The stages are clearly indicated on the page. As you can see, collaborate and create, and then it leads them to the page on the activity book that they will need to work on. Then they share with their friends, and lastly, they rate their project. These lessons are aligned to the Sustainable Development Goals as well. And if we go to the activity book, they've got activities to consolidate the vocabulary that they're working on. They've got reading activities, listen activities, and lastly, that activity that we talked about, evaluating or assessing their performance in this project. And then we've got the Children of the World pages, which are also every 2 units. And in here, children review and practice the vocabulary and grammar of the term, as well as as they develop skills such as cultural awareness and expression, personal, social, and learning to learn, competencies, among others. They are focused on inspirational children from around the world. They are not superheroes. They are simply inspirational children, again, inviting students to get to know other children in the world that are doing curious things and important things, and to be inspired by them, to understand their culture, their surroundings, and compare it to their own, enriching their knowledge of the world. At levels 3 to 6, these lessons are really special because one of the 3 Children of the World sections have been developed in collaboration with the UNHCR. And these lessons are focused on refugee children from different parts of the world. These lessons begin with a video where they learn about the inspiring children. And then they listen to and read a text that tells them more about the topic that the child is talking about. I am going to show you this first video of this specific lesson, which is about Raf, a Syrian refugee girl living in Luxembourg with her family. So I'm just going to play it for you. Okay.
This is Raf. She's 7 years old. She's got long hair and brown eyes. Look, she's got a pet cat. Raf is from Syria. There's a war in Syria and it's very dangerous. Raf and her family live in Luxembourg now. This is her mum. Raf.
For the sake of time, I'm not going to play the full video, but it was just to let you see a little bit more of how the videos work. As you can see, these videos present just in this case, the life of Raf and her, the things that she does, the things that she likes, bringing this a topic that's not very usual within the classrooms, but still very present in our reality, right? And I think it's worth including within the classroom, and what better way to do it than in a safe environment with materials that are adapted to children, that are in a way that's easy to introduce in class, that respects possible refugees within the classroom, and that invites students to develop compassion and empathy for the students. This first lesson is focused on reviewing the language from the previous units, and the second lesson is focused on a learning situation. We talked about this before. The stages of the learning situation are clearly indicated in the page, with images illustrating how it needs to be done, with ideas, and then with support in the activity book. In the first lesson, with activities that consolidate the language from the previous units, and then the last activity, inviting children to assess their performance during the learning situation, the creation of the learning situation. Okay. So that's it for the unit walkthrough. We don't have images for it, but All About Us Now also features 3 new festivals, updated festivals, which include a poem or a song or a text regarding this, with activities that consolidate their vocabulary and invite children to explore the very festival. In this case, for level 3, for example, we've got Peace Day, we've got St. Patrick's Day, and Ramadan. And that's it for the unit walkthrough. Thank you so much for your attention. And if you have any questions, please write them in the chat.
I've included the link to the digital class book that Celia has just shown you there, so you can check it out for yourself as well. And you can also see the active learning kit, which is within the activity book section.
Thank you very much, Louise.
So please feel free to ask any questions you might have about All About Us Now or the digital offer, etc. We still have a couple of minutes before we have to finish. We're going to wait a second because we know it takes quite a long time for the questions to appear in the chat. Thank you very much for that presentation, Celia. Let's just wait and see if we get any questions
Comments,
here.
Yeah.
And I'll switch on my camera just now. Okay.
Great. I think
that we're not having any questions today.
I don't think
Perhaps
we are.
People have things that they need to go and do. So I just wanted to let you know that we also have some other webinars later. We have 2 secondary webinars coming up this week. We have On Track tomorrow, and we have Synchronize. Veronica, you work in a bilingual school. The level of this method, it's an A1 plus exit at the end of primary 6. We also have 2 more primary presentations next week. We have Open Up, which is our new course for primary, which is on the 9th of May. And it's also an A1 plus to A2, to A2 with the exam edition activity book. That's on Monday, and then on the 11th, on Wednesday, we have the presentation of World Class, which is our B1 course book for primary. So we have those, and we also have the CLIL World bilingual course, and the author Plácido Bazo will be assisting us with that. And yeah, so those are our upcoming webinars. I hope that you might be able to join us for some of those as well.
Yes.
So-
thank you very much for attending the session, and thank you, Lise, for assisting me with the chat and everything. Have a nice evening, everyone.
Thank you very much, everybody. Lovely to see you here, and I hope to see you again. Take care.
Yes.
Have a nice evening. Goodbye.
Bye.